Many Texans lost loved ones during the pandemic because of the coronavirus. Unexpected funeral costs can be an additional burden. The federal government is helping families with those expenses. KENS 5 consumer reporter Nicole Kahn tells us how many Texans have gotten reimbursed.
The Texas Department of Health and Human Services reports more than 50,000 Texans died from the coronavirus. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, is offering families up to $9,000 per funeral. So far, more than 15,000 Texans applied for the funds to help cover funeral costs. 318 got the money. I reached out to FEMA to find out why only 2% were reimbursed. FEMA tells me in a statement, the process takes some time. Applicants should know we are working on providing reimbursement for eligible applicants with properly documented and eligible expenses as soon as possible. In many cases, applicants do not have the necessary documentation when they initiate their claim, which can impact the timeline for those applications. FEMA notes the death certificate must say the death was because of COVID-19. Now, in some cases, that might mean the death certificate needs to be amended. That can be done, but it can be a lengthy process itself because the family needs to present the person who certified the death with evidence the death was coronavirus related. FEMA says there is no deadline yet to apply for funeral assistance. We have more information on how to apply, what documentation you need, and covered costs if you click on this story at KENS5.com. Nicole Kahn, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.